Sense.
Hi, David.
Hi, Lara.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm launching my business this week. That's my sprint goal, my North Star.
Yeah.
And I've gathered all the pieces, so it's not like I'm starting from scratch, but I have 1,000 work in process projects
Yep.
that don't even need to be coordinated. I think this is why I'm encountering so much difficulty, because they don't necessarily need to be broken down further, and there's not really any that would be blocking another one from being completed. So it's hard to take that spider web and put it into a linear to-do list and to know how high level. Like, I know that Jennifer likes really granular, like, I'm going to cut my nails on Tuesday, but actually I get lost in the granularity of that. So I'm better off having a task that is make a garden, because then if I just engage with make a garden, things will just present themselves and I'll just do it as I go.
It'll all unfold properly.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I got a thought about this, which actually relates to this work that I was doing earlier in the week with this LLM stuff. So I have this problem this week where I got my agent to build this mapping. Actually, it kind of just built a mapping system on its own, right? I said, hey, I'd like some information about how the demographics in North Texas have changed, to high population growth area with all these cities exploding, and I wanted to kind of get the files for it or something. So I said, is there, are there sources of information on this, like files, etc., hoping it was just going to give me like a URL. And actually, it built a map visualizer application, which was awesome.
Talk about overachiever. Jeez.
Yeah, totally, right? So fantastic. Because it's agentic, like it was like, let me go see if I can find this data. Oh, I found it. Oh, what can I do with it? Oh, let me see if I can visualize it. Let me try this. This doesn't work. Never mind. I'll abandon that approach. I'll go back over here. I'll try this. Just awesome. But then in the middle, then I started trying to refine it. Like, oh, let's add some more cities. Okay, what about this one over here? Can you go up to all the way to Denison on the Oklahoma border? And when you do that, you find that it kind of like hastily just like did a slapdash job on the way. So it didn't really take good separation of concerns. It just kind of wrote data into the scripts and things. And so one example is like it needs to use the geocodes of cities to display them on the map. It knows inherently in this giant bunch of built-in knowledge, it has memorized the geocodes for major cities, but not for small cities. So its solution was to simply write the geocodes into the visualizer webpage. But then once you started looking for smaller cities, that didn't really work because it didn't know them, and it hadn't bothered to like find, build a mechanism to go look up the geocode for a city, those kind of things.
Okay.
All right. So net is it drifted off of like the quality was not that high, right? And so then I thought, how do I get it focused on quality? And this is actually appropriate for launch, because what I ended up doing was giving it a set of work principles that it has to review every time I open the agent's tab. It wakes up, reviews the work principles, and the point here is kind of the Stephen Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in mind. So the product manager mindset says, I'm going to start with the user journey mapping, right? So this part is about beginning with the end in mind, responding to a request. Start with the outcome, figure out what the outcome is, ask clarifying questions about it, right, until you understand what the outcome is, and then map the user journey. And then this architect part is about actually building stuff that doesn't suck and follows good architectural principles. So
you
these first
gave
two,
it different hats to wear. Like put
yes,
on your project manager hat, then put on your architect hat.
Sort of like, but I wanted to do all three at the same time, which is keep these ideas in mind. Right? Mm-hmm. Keep these three ideas in mind. Whenever you're doing something that is project manager or product manager focused, you should be asking about your user journeys. Whenever you're doing any work at all, you should be asking, what's the end goal of this work, right? What am I trying to do? And whenever you are building something, you should build it like a good software engineer would, with separation of concerns, not just smearing everything together in one big file. Because later on, even though it's not necessary for this task, it'll be important later on when you go to change things that it's built correctly. So especially these first two, I think, would help in this, because when you want to launch something, what do you want to do? Well, you want to begin with the end in mind, where the end is launching. And then what does that look like? Well, you can define the user journey. So a user comes to the website, or starts using your product, and what does that look like? So there's a journey, right? Like maybe they hear from a friend that you are good at this kind of teaching their children to read, they look up your name. They find your website. The website has a link that has some description of what it is that they need, and a call to action button that is like, click here to assess your child, or click here to watch the first couple lessons, or whatever that journey you want them to do is, right? And then following the user journey lets you determine what's important, because you're like, oh, I need the call to action button on the website. That's a key thing.
Cool.
So
this
that
is
is my
actually
thought.
similar to when I was writing those blog posts, what it spit back. Did you write that yourself?
Sort of. We had a conversation, and then okay, distill that down into a set of work principles.
Yeah, that's what I did. So that's how I got my prompt for the blog post. Is I said, can you create a prompt out of what I just told you? It was like in conversation with, and then I fed that back in as the project instructions for the project under the Claude. Cool. That works really well. It works really well to do that. To start with your thing, have them rewrite it, and then feed that back to them as if you wrote it, and then have them follow their own instructions. It's like a toxic boss that takes like credit for your ideas. No, you know what I think we should do, and then it's like, I just said that 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So I think beginning with the end in mind and focusing on the user journey will give you what you need to do to handle the launch.
Beginning with the end in mind and focusing on the user journey. That's really helpful. Thanks, David.